Hello everybody and welcome back for the snooker action. It is finally the week for the China Grand Prix to be underway, and what a better place to start than to see RonnieOSullivan, the world number 4 and arguably the most successful player of all time in snooker, being up against the rising star of the snooker tour, Iulian Boiko. Now the players are all ready and it is the return of the Rocket, someone that we haven't seen since his, well, I would say triumph in Saudi Arabia, but ended up to be a little bit of a disaster for him in a decided battle against Neil Robertson. He'll be up and running here, hopefully for himself. It's a tournament that he very much likes in terms of the venue and the fans here, but can he find some sort of performance here against the player that he's never had to face previously in his career, Iulian Boiko? It's the first meeting between the two of them, the world number 88 and the 20-year-old from Ukraine. And O'Sullivan just getting thumbs up there from the referee, and he will be the player to start off the opening frame here. So looking forward how this one is going to go. So it's a break-off shot now from Ronnie. Looking forward to see some action from him, having missed out on Wuhan Open, British Open and English Open there. And once again, it's a decent break-off there by O'Sullivan, but has to be very much be careful in terms of his performance. He's back, the ethics, well, I mean, he certainly is back. It was a shame that he missed out on the home tournament for him, basically, being so close to the town that he currently lives in, but he was putting all the work in, as he was letting us know on the social media stuff, so certainly all about the workout. One thing I will say about these matches, it's certainly going to go in a very quick fashion here, and straight away it's a mistake there from Boiko. So talk about it going quick fashion. Could have found himself on a nice little gap there on the red. Instead it looks like he will be O'Sullivan with an early chance. If he can find the path for the cue ball into the red, into the left middle, certainly will be a chance now for him, as all 6 colours are going to be really nice positions there for him. So has to make this red stick though, and he doesn't. So one chance missed each now, and it's Boiko that comes back to the table here. And as I say, this position is really, really nice for whoever gets the first hold of it. And for a moment it thought like Boiko was going to get that lone red into the right corner. Instead, it's going to be O'Sullivan with a chance into the left middle, but having missed out on that opportunity of his own, gives away a chance once again to his opponent. So Boiko is not necessarily the worst player when it comes to break building stuff, but that is not the way to announce yourself to the world. And what a miss that is from Boiko straight away. 3 misses on the 2 players, but that one really was worst of the lot. And surely will be punished to at least the extent of 1 point, as O'Sullivan has to carefully find his way on towards the cue ball with the rest. So just flick the red in, try and get some distance in between the cue ball and the black there. So it's a nice shot there from Ronnie to get him started off here. But ultimately, it's going to be all about just the momentum builder. I missed out on more than, well, almost 1.5 months of snooker in a professional level. He has to be playing a little bit rusty, I would say, from the start. But it's all about just trying to get yourself in a nice little rhythm, a nice shape. Be happy with the way you're queuing. He always gets back to his game on that level of regard. So it's a nice little positional start though for Ronnie. Get the black into the left corner right now. Potentially cannon the cue ball in towards the reds. Get a couple of those freed up, and it's a really nice shot there from him, because that will free up a lot more reds there for him to try and make advantage of right now. He's got 1 to try and take on into the left or right corner. So we'll just see whichever one he actually likes and prefers more. So just drop the 1 into the left corner, get himself on the black nicely. And, well, I don't think he needs to change the location of the cue ball on towards the blue anytime soon. As I say, I think the reds, the way it's spread out underneath the pink, is not going to be an issue. And he can just try and take those out one by one there. Once again, has got a nice little red to just roll the cue ball through this red and on towards the left hand side of the table. Lovely shot there. So from Ronnie's point of view, I think it's not going to be just all about winning this match, which you would expect him to do, but it's also going to be like just the way he plays, the way he performs, the way he controls the cue ball around the table, his positional shots, his long shots. All of these aspects of the game have to be on the best possible sort of percentage there. If he wants to challenge the likes of Karen Wilson, Watchalong, Zhao Xington, which are all going to be slight favourites ahead of him going into this tournament, even though he is, of course, arguably the greatest of all time there. Hello, easy for Ronnie 6-1. I mean, I don't think it's going to be 6-1. Hello, Kevin, by the way, but because it's best of 9, unless I forgot to change that. 5-1, yeah, there you go. Probably just a mistake there. So Ronnie doesn't seem to be too happy with himself here. I think he wants to try and stay on the black for as long as possible. Obviously, he is trying to go for that, you know, sort of extreme maximum hunt. But the problem he's going to have is one of the reds has gone onto the right-hand cushion, so he may have to settle for just a pink position here. Nice to see you. Likewise, my friend. Likewise. It's been a long time. You know, we've had the International Championship qualifiers where Gary Wilson managed to close off his match against Artemis Zizens in a great fashion there with a maximum break. And then we had today Judd Trump putting in 1-4-7 against his opponent of Yin Yuan. Lovely shot there from O'Sullivan. So understands really that he has to go for the blue just to ensure the positional sense is going to be there. Didn't want to risk of playing the cue ball on towards the red into the right corner, which he's going to try and dispatch right now. So not going to be a maximum break. Something that we've seen him do already in the opening frame against Chris Wakelin earlier this season. And it's lovely to see Ronnie back. I think we're going to see him in the International Championship. Certainly going to see him at the China Grand Prix, as he has a lovely shot now. I think he'll be really unlucky if he hasn't ended up on this red into the left corner. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed your final shot. I knew you were going to say that, so I sort of have the answer for you, but it's a bit of a mixed bag there. It was great in terms of experience, but it was a bit nervy from the fact that you had to be like a statue, pretty much not moving every single time the player was near you. And some of the times you did have to use the little screen they have on the top part of the table. But apart from that, it was certainly great in terms of the atmosphere. And I think when you're on there, you actually realise, as O'Sullivan in no time has got himself signed up for a frame ball into the left corner, plays through it, and it's a nice little break now of 71 points for RonnieOSullivan. Certainly not going to see anything more of Iulian Boiko in the opening frame, as the Rocket is off to a great start here. But yeah, I think when you're in there, you get so much more of the feel of the atmosphere. I mean, that frame 15, I messaged my dad at the time. I did say, if when Shaun Murphy won that frame 15, we went to go 8-7 ahead of McGill, he was never going to lose that final, because just the raw and the feeling inside the arena, and especially what you could see in McGill's face, in his reaction to the sort of the way the match has twisted from him and has gone away from him. Yeah, he was never really winning that final from that frame 15, but it was a nice little battle. It was barely to put anything in between the two players until we got to the late stage, which was really, really nice to see McGill putting up a great fight. But in the end, it was Murphy's title to lose, and he's managed to get himself an ITV slam there, so winning all the tournaments that have been hosted by ITV there. And wrapping up with the British crown there, and a brilliant start now by RonnieOSullivan to get himself a century break on the board in the opening frame. And now he's up and running, certainly. Can he make... Well, he can't make a highest break of the tournament, because we already had a maximum jot trump. Massive shout out to the world number 1. Doing that in frame number 5, I think it was, to go 4-1 up there against his opponent. But O'Sullivan runs himself out of position, but I don't think he'll care. There's just a little shot at the red, and 107 points. That will do him nicely, and that is end of a frame in no time at all, because RonnieOSullivan is off to a great start here. The frame has barely lasted 10 minutes there, and Iulian Boiko has to blame himself for that one. He had an early chance in the frame, didn't manage to take any of the two chances that were presented to him, and in the end it was the Rocket that managed to run away from him with a break of 107 points. We're now down to the second frame, and it is RonnieOSullivan 1, Iulian Boiko 0. And yeah, I mean, it certainly is the best draw that I've seen so far in this tournament. You could argue about Shanghai Masters, but that was always going to be a bit quick there, because it was always going to start from a bit of a later stage. When you've got the likes of Zhao Xington, Kyron Wilson, Judd Trump, you're still going to have Mark Williams, Ding Junhui be playing right now in the qualifying round. RonnieOSullivan, only the third tournament that he's featured in so far this season, and I think we're set up for a brilliant campaign. You're going to have the likes of Shaun Murphy, Mark Selby contributing to the game, and you're always going to have the little bit of a underdog like Stan Moody, like Zach Tuberty, like Li Pei Fan or Zhou Yulong still on the horizon. And yeah, very important to see more of RonnieOSullivan's performance in terms of the safety battle, how he's going to react to the lengthy frames, what his response is going to be to those shots that are going to exhaust him, players trying to get under his skin, all that sort of stuff. So far, I think it's an early challenge for him to try and get himself 5-0, 5-1 ahead of Boiko. You know, not disrespect to the Ukrainian. Today, another max not seen it yet. Yeah, certainly. So Trump made it today, and Wilson made one. Gary Wilson made one 3-4 days ago. It was the last day of the International Championship qualifier, and funnily enough, his opponent, Timmy Zizens, seemed to be more happy for him than Wilson was himself there, because he was literally smiling. He's gone up to him, he was almost giving him a hug there, and Wilson was like, well, yeah, you know, another day at the office. So lovely little reaction there from his opponent, and just waiting for the referee to give us thumbs up to start off this frame, and it's going to be Iulian Boiko's turn. And this is the only match, by the way, that has had the opening frame finish already. Yes, saw that. Yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. But let's hope that that wasn't the last maximum break that we're actually going to see, as Iulian Boiko gets us underway with a really aggressive break there. good news is the black is available. And the cue ball has gone pretty safe there as well. So it's a nice break off there. And one thing you have to remember about Boiko is he's very similar to O'Sullivan in terms of his style of play. And I think this will be a perfect qualifying match there for O'Sullivan, because he knows he can just try and take it away there, pretty much risk any single shot that he wants, and just try and pick up all the chances that Boiko will present to him. And there you go, there's your answer, because straight away O'Sullivan has gone for a risky shot into the left corner and has left Boiko in with a chance here to try and take this red in towards the right corner there. So a lot of deep screw on the cue ball. It's going to go into the bunch of reds, but that is a bit of a disaster shot there from Boiko, but it doesn't want this red in, and it is going to be in. I mean, it was a massive kick that he got, and I mean, I don't know if you say that he miscued, but basically the cue ball has jumped over a red. Don't think he caught it on the way until he actually was still on the table there, so I think he's going to be alright in terms of the foul shot. But as I say, it's a bit of a nightmare for him to try and get himself onto the colour. The cue ball is stuck to the bunch of reds, so using a left-hand cushion and bridging over reds to try and get himself on the black here. And, well, could lose a couple of shots here and a couple of points, can Boiko, but I don't think it's going to cost him anything more than that. No real reds available on the lower part of the table, alongside the black ball pot there. So just carefully roll up to the black. So 2 cushion escape and try and get in behind it if you can. Doesn't want to leave a free ball though. O'Sullivan ain't going to waste any more time than that. And he's going to get those 7 points. And he's going to say thank you very much. I'll take the position from here, he would think. So he's got a red potentially to try and go for into the left corner. Or into the yellow pocket, I should say. He's looking at another one into the right corner there, but surely he's not going to take a card of that size away. So yeah, it's all about taking the red into the left middle or the yellow pocket there. So playing through this shot, so clearly eyeing a shot into the middle, catches the back end jaw there. And in the end, we'll probably be quite lucky to get the green in the way of the cue ball. It's going to be a difficult shot for Boiko to try and take another red in towards the right corner there. And no surprise that O'Sullivan is dominating the poll. 79% think that he will win this match. And probably should have put the scoreline as well, because I think everyone knows that O'Sullivan will be a massive favourite going into this match. But it's just a question of how many frames can Iulian and Boiko take away from him in the early stage of the match and then try and take it from there. It already has been turned into best of 7 for O'Sullivan's point of view. Boiko seems to take this red on there, and it's a lovely shot. As I say, bridging over the green, gets himself perfectly on the blue here. And what a start this is for Iulian Boiko. Have a look at this shot. Lovely little cueing, gets the red nicely into the pocket, and a perfect positional shot on the blue as well. He's up and running here as well. Probably could be a frame too late here for him to put up a real fight here to O'Sullivan. But he can always try and do something on a frame-by-frame basis. And just try and get himself in the game. Keep O'Sullivan in his chair. And you never know, the rest might follow in terms of his performance. For now, it's a decent shot on the blue, but just gets the wrong side of the red here. And the cue ball is going to travel in towards the bunch yet again here. So has got a lot of cue power to try and apply to the shot. I think he's going to have to force through all those reds. I don't think there's a potential angle for him to try and screw back here. So just try and generate as much power as you can on the cue ball. Hopefully avoid the reds there, but he didn't manage to do that. So it's blue or nothing really in terms of the potting angle, but the red making him bridge over one more colour is going to be a lot more difficult on well, a shot that is already complicated, to be fair. So he's just having a look at which is the best colour for him to try and take a safety from. I think it's going to be a green. Putting the cue ball on towards the bulk area. And get himself in a nice position for the safety battle. So the break will end on just 7 points there from Boiko. Disappointing start to be fair, from the 2 chances that he's had in the opening frame. Didn't manage to score any points at all. And then, of course, being quite wasteful with the 2 chances that came his way in frame number 2 as well. As O'Sullivan is wasting no time to try and go for these reds. And in the end, it's a lovely little shot there. Didn't see any sign of O'Sullivan being sorry for the shot, because the cue ball landed just underneath the brown. And any sort of a safety shot that Boiko was thinking about, I think it has to be rearranged right now, because he may well have to be a shot on the cushion first, into the left-hand side of the table, send the cue ball with as little pace as possible. And in the end, it's a nicely executed shot there. Sullivan hasn't got any chance of attack coming up to him. And just pushes one red out of the way. Puts the cue ball nicely onto the top part of the table. So something that we haven't seen in the opening frame. We're now seeing in frame number 2. Sullivan forced to play those safety shots here. And of course, when he sees the opening of Sullivan, as we've seen throughout this frame and a half, he will go for the shot, no matter what the sort of difficulty of that particular shot is. And Boiko has to find the response, but in the end he flukes the red now. So gets a little bit of luck himself. Does he get on the color though, into the bulk area? And I think he does, just about. Can pot the brown in towards the green pocket. Send the cue ball down the table. Get himself lined up nicely for one of the reds into the left middle or right corner. And it's a nice shot there in terms of potting the brown. Doesn't want the pink in the way. And it's a nice shot there from Boiko. So once again a chance to have some sort of response. A red in towards the right corner. Then send the pink in the opposite side of the table. And decided to hang the cue ball up for the blue there. So it's clearly a sign that he wants to send the white in towards the reds there, trying to split them up as soon as possible. Very much O'Sullivan style. But has to risk running himself out of position by that shot. And he will send the cue ball in towards the reds. And it looks like he played that shot to perfection. He certainly has got a red in towards the left middle. I think he's got one into the left corner as well. You just have a look to see. He's got one to the right corner as well. But that's going to be a tricky cut for him to try and manage. But it seems to be the red that he's actually aiming for. So not too sure about that shot selection. Has to make this one stick, of course. And will do that. The cue ball, though, is going to be quite close to the middle. And very close to the middle. Only barely catches the jaw of the pocket and stays out there. But in the end, it's going to be a very straight blue. And ultimately, can't really see any of the reds that he can try and land on. Unless he goes for the brown, potentially, in towards the green pocket. So, as I said, I wasn't too sure about that short selection. It was always going to create an unwanted angle there on the cue ball. So Boiko has to play really deep into the cue ball, try and stun it, and go for a difficult shot of the red in towards the right corner. Exactly what he's tried to do. So he's now 18 points clear of O'Sullivan, still 99 on the table. And well, we're turning into a position. It is turning into a position that Boiko can't really miss any of those reds, because if he does, especially if he misses a color, tries to line up a positional shot for himself on the red, it could feel like it will be another frame over in no time at all there. And it's all about decision making now from Boiko. Does he want to go for the red, or does he just go for a safety and try and frustrate O'Sullivan to an extent there, get him in a safety battle that probably he wasn't really planning to try and do. And to do that, he needs to produce a good safety shot, and it's a good line there from the cue ball. And I think he's going to do enough damage there. Cue ball lands right underneath the yellow. So it's going to be awkward for O'Sullivan to try and take any hint of a shot in towards the right corner. But I still think that's going to be the aim for him to try and do. And he has gone for the shot. He's missed it by quite some margin. But cue ball is going to land safely on top part of the bulk area. So I think Boiko can go for exactly the same shot there, with two more reds being in very similar positions to the one O'Sullivan just managed to take. And just having a look to see if he can try and play through this red in towards the right corner. Send the black ball in towards the reds. Probably looking at the phase of the game where Boiko will try to slow things down here in this particular frame. Because even though he hasn't got a lot of a gap, if he makes positional sense for O'Sullivan a bit more problematic than he already is, he can try and force him into another area. That will put Boiko back at the table here. But for now, it looks like it is the Ukrainian that makes a mistake here. Leaves the red into the right corner here. He has managed to fulfill his great plan of trying to push the black onto its own cushion. But it doesn't look like it's going to be a shot worth taking on there. Because O'Sullivan is going to take this red. He was looking to try and free up the black there with the same shot. In the end, didn't manage to do it. So he's now got himself with a difficult shot of the pink in towards the right middle. So just play through this shot there. And try and accelerate the cue ball. Use the top part of the table to get himself up on another red. And it's nicely done there from O'Sullivan. I think he would have liked a bit more distance in between the cue ball and the left-hand cushion there. But he's still fine to go on one of the top reds, you would think, to get himself lined up on the blue, or a positional shot on the pink in towards the left corner. He's just asking the referee to clear the cue ball there. Doesn't seem to be too happy with something being on it this moment in time. So a little bit of a delay in the game, but so far I would say it has been an expected start there from Ronnie. Trying to be aggressive, trying to take every single chance that presents to himself, not necessarily being too focused on the safety play, and really only playing those shots when he has to. And he's literally got no other option there for him. So right now, lines are red in towards the right corner, so very important for him to try and get nice traction on the cue ball and send it onto the top part of the blue, which is something that he didn't manage to do. And now, has he got enough angle on the blue here to try and send the cue ball on top part of the table? Use the bulk cushion to his advantage there. He has to do that, but is he going to catch the yellow on the way in? Probably won't, but whatever his plan was, it wasn't necessarily a great execution there, because he's going to run himself out of position to an extent here. And only one red with a really difficult cut in towards the left corner. Is the only shot that he's actually got available to him. So goes for a little bit of a cue extension there. And once again has to be very precise in terms of his cue ball position, but he's going to miss this shot there. Something that we could see coming there. A break of 13 points, so very much a disappointing start to the second frame so far in terms of the break building. Boiko producing the highest break of 17. Sullivan responding with a break of 13 points there. But of course, context is key, and the reason for that is a massive difficulty of getting around the colour position. But it's a nice little shot there to get himself on the way once again here for Boiko. But looks like he'll be one of those shots that you get the red, and you probably try and get the cue ball in behind the yellow or brown here. So force Ronnie to try and send the cue ball in towards the lower part of the table. And in the end, Boiko goes for putting the yellow on the right side cushion, being only 6 points clear. Not necessarily think that was a strategic point of view. I think it was just a way for him to try and get O'Sullivan into a little bit more of a trouble. And I think it has paid off for him there. Because whatever O'Sullivan had in mind, he certainly played that shot very quickly. And this time it's the cue ball that can be sent up towards the pink here. Trying to put the red along the cushion here. And he's going to get this one, but just lands a little bit short of pace there at the cue ball. Difficult shot of the pink to try and take on into the right middle here. It's all about the precision play that he needs to try and perform here. Iulian, but he may have to do something similar to the shot that O'Sullivan had to play and use the top part of the table. Yeah, I think it would have been the right shot for him to take, because what he tried to do is send the cue ball into another red to try and use it as a handbrake, but for him to catch that red full ball, he had to sacrifice some of the angle on the pink there, which means He was risking of not potting the pink at all. And in the end, that's exactly what happened. So back to the table comes Ronnie. 3 reds out of the remaining 5 are now very much on the good part of the table. And Ronnie's already lining up a shot off the pink to try and free up at least one more of the remaining 2 that are currently on the blackball cushion. And doesn't want to go for it yet, though. Clearly had something in his mind. So he's now 27 points each. Still 59 points on the table. He's going to be made 51 right now. Although Sullivan just toying with his hand there, leaving in the way of the cue ball. Taking away in the last second. And once again, lovely little shot there on the pink. Get himself up the table. Lined up on the red in towards the left middle here. So all about the next couple of shots is going to be very important if we want to see RonnieOSullivan win this frame in the current visit to the table. So he's got himself a little bit of an angle on the blue. Clearly has to use the cushion first there. And he did try to go for a shot of not using the cushion really. And I mean, to be fair to him, from the angle and from the position, the distance the cue ball had to cover up there, he's actually done pretty well. He's got a red lined up in towards the left middle. So try to stun the cue ball here. Up for the pink. And then once again, deep screw. Could bring him nicely onto the remaining red. Very close to the right corner there. Doesn't seem to be too happy with the way the left middle has behaved to him though. So just has a little check on it. And we'll try and put the pink nicely in towards the right middle. So I have to say, the way he's taking those shots, you can see he's playing with a lot of confidence here. So if he takes this red with the pink there, he'll be 27 points clear with 27 on the table. And the yellow being put away there by Boiko. Might have been a masterclass in terms of, I actually thought he was, in order for O'Sullivan not to be able to catch him. But in the end, it is depriving O'Sullivan of a frame ball here. So it's all about the very important shot right now. 27 points clear is Ronnie. 27 on the table. Tries to go for a little shot there. I thought he was going to try and go for the double. And in the end, he's probably left his yellow nicely on for Boiko in towards the left corner there. So when I say nicely, it's not an easy shot, but it's certainly the one that you would have thought he would have been able to try and cover up there. But Boiko doesn't want to take it on. Tries to send it in towards the black there. And the cue ball is actually going with a nice trajectory line. But he's just about going to catch the brown. So it's not going to be a snooker there for Ronnie. And just send it, the yellow, up towards the green pocket, you would think. He goes for the opposite shot of that. And tries to put the brown in between the cue ball and the yellow there. Decent attempt there. Not quite successful though. And you can always try and go for the shot cushion first. Send the cue ball, full ball into the yellow. Doesn't quite catch that full ball though. And needs the pink to come to his rescue. And I think he will to an extent though. Ronnie can try and go for this cut. I mean, the only problem with that cut is the cue ball is going to be sent in towards the black there. But he doesn't seem to care about it. You're certainly aiming for the shot in towards the pocket. The cue ball is going to stay out on the table there after being very close to the yellow pocket itself. So certainly no time wasted in between those shots. The match is being played in a very aggressive manner. Both players taking as little time and as little momentum out of the game as possible. But Boiko may actually think that he should have taken more time on that particular shot because he's just left Ronnie with a yellow to try and pop in towards the right corner. Remember, this is frame ball there for O'Sullivan. Cue this one up nicely, and there you have it. It is going to be RonnieOSullivan 2, Iulian Boiko 0. He's now 1 snooker required for Boiko to try and tie. I think he will come back to the table at this stage, but not if O'Sullivan manages to pot this green, which for whatever reason he tried to absolutely rattle in the jaws there and power it into the pocket. Didn't work out. And it's now 29 points behind. Is Boiko finding himself in with 25 on the table there. So very interesting to see what he's going to be able to do here. Because I think if he takes the... Well, I mean, If O'Sullivan takes the green out of the game, puts himself 3 more points on the board, he'll certainly be with a great chance there. But whatever the plan was there for Boiko, he didn't play well that shot. Nearly potted the green himself there. Instead, he's put it over the pocket there for Ronnie. So playing this one with a little pace. And he's going to be in there nicely. So it's going to be 3 points and the frame now for Ronnie. Iulian Boiko certainly not going to come back to the table after that shot there. And Ronnie may actually provide us with a break of 25 points here to wrap off the second frame as well. If he goes for the total clearance, he does have the tendency though of leaving the black out if he doesn't fancy potting it. And see if that's going to be the case. Now he seems to be in the mood of actually trying to pot it. Nice to see that. And it is going to be 81 points and for the win here. And only 25 of those, to be fair, will come on the current break. And it will be RonnieOSullivan 2, Iulian Boiko 0. A promising start for the Rocket and a disappointing start in terms of the chance that he's had for the Ukrainian here. Ronnie will go for the bathroom break, and in the meantime, you can actually have a look at how the other matches are doing. So, if we try and do that, you've got Ding Zhuwei playing against Sam Craig there, winning by 1 frame to 0. Mark Williams has lost the opening frame to Yu Jingxiao. And that is the 3 qualifying matches that we've got so far. And then we've got some of the last 64 matches as well. Stuart Bingham against Matthew Selt. 0-0 still the opening frame is being played. Aaron Hill's on a nice little break there of 129 points. And you know what it is? He's got 18 points available. So we could see another moment of brilliance now from Aaron Hill. I mean, I'm watching that on the scoreboard. And he's got pink and black there to try and go for a 147. It's only the black now. Aaron Hill, what a story this will be. Made one at the Wuhan Open tournament. Can he make one right now at the China Grand Prix? And the answer is yes, he can. It's a brilliant break of 147 points from Aaron Hill. And it is the maximum number 13 of the tournament. Happy Max, man. Well, I think it certainly is. Because what a way to get himself 1 frame each there against Wang Zhixiao there. Brilliant stuff there from the Irishman. He's having a really good season there, you know, getting to the quarterfinal of the English Open. Lost out to Jack Jones ultimately, but I mean, the Ali Carter battle that he had, the maximum that he had previously in the campaign, certainly off to a great start in this season. Let's see if he can try and build on that. And, well, are we going to see him for more of the late stages of the tournament? Have to wait and see on that one, as the referee is almost ready to get us underway for frame number 3. And 1 more maximum already in the China Grand Prix. The second one, and the second one for today. We're not even done with day number 1. We had the likes of Wilson, Trump, feature. Now it's O'Sullivan, Williams, Ding Zhuwei. And still some of the brilliant players yet to come there in the battle for tomorrow. And, well, later stages, I mean, what could we see in terms of the producing performance? RonnieOSullivan comes back now to the table. Get himself ready for the frame number 3. He will be the person to get us off on the way here. And start off frame number 3 here. As the referee just checking the pockets, obviously taking the note from O'Sullivan earlier. And Ronnie's just waiting for the confirmation. The cue ball is going to be presented to him. And from the left-hand side of the table, once again, it will be RonnieOSullivan to get us on the way here. Doesn't seem to be too happy with the cue ball again. Wipes it off his shirt there. And we're finally ready to start off the frame number 3. And it's a nice little break off in terms of the reds being bunched up nicely. And I mean, the cue ball is going to land nicely in behind the green as well. Great shot there from Ronnie. And once again, something that you have to admire, especially Ronnie's biggest struggle recently, in the recent years, has always been trying to get himself onto the later stages. And as he always says, just not necessarily being the fan of the numpties. And having to play all of them in the early stages has always been a problem for him, as Boiko will give away 6 points there to Ronnie. Not often you see Ronnie actually trying to slow the play down to an extent and ask the referee to reinstall the pink. Don't really think there's going to be a lot of sense in that shot. But it is, of course, Ronnie's decision to try and make. And after getting himself 2 frames on the board, I think he can try and take a more... I mean, if he was doing that in the third gear, he can try and go down to the second gear and just try and chill for the majority of the safety battle, try and wait for the chances that ultimately we're always going to see presented to him there. As once again, Boiko just tries to roll the cue ball in towards the Reds now. And it's a nice little shot there to an extent. He's not going to leave a touching ball here. And Ronnie has to send the cue ball manually off the red in towards the right corner there. So then he's up the table there. And, well, with that trajectory, I think it's going to be lining up in behind the yellow, potentially in behind the brown as well. As he thought about changing the shot perspective, but no, you go for the shot in towards the right corner, send it up the table, and just going to be above the bulk line, so it's alright there. It's not a perfect shot from Ronnie, but in terms of the Reds, I mean, 11 of them being bunched up is probably nothing that you actually can give away in terms of the significance for the break, and it's a nice little shot there from Boiko. Acknowledgement by O'Sullivan as well, as he taps the cue onto the table. And, well, I think at this point you have to ask if it's going to be a 5-0 win for Ronnie, or Boiko's going to be able to take 1, maybe 2 frames away from him. As right now, it's a nice shot there from Ronnie to try and respond to the safety battle and getting the momentum back in his favour. So Boiko just checking the Reds and their availability in towards the left corner there. I think he'll go for a straightforward shot that most of the players try and perform. Try and cut the red in towards the left middle, get the cue ball into the safe area. But, I mean, he's overcut that one by some margin. And he's actually lucky not to give that one away there into the left middle, because the amount of distance that he actually overcut it by, he could have caught the back end jaw with so much traction there that, you know, this red would have been available there for Ronnie to try and play. Instead, I think he'll try to take this red in towards the yellow pocket there. But it's a difficult shot there for him. The cue ball is going to be heading back towards the lower part of the table, as he got down for that shot twice there already and backed out of it on both of those occasions. So doesn't seem to be satisfied with something on the shot. It may be the fact that he can't actually put the blue there, so he has to do some sort of action on the cue ball, either push it through the red and try and land the white on the top part of the table, and once again goes down and goes back up here. So probably one of the lengthiest shots in terms of the time taken we've seen from O'Sullivan in the entire match here. But the commitment is certainly there. Is he going to go for this red though? As my screen is frozen there for a second. But in the end, he has missed a shot into the yellow pocket. So it was always going to be quite a difficult one for him to try and execute. And the question is now, is he left the same shot to try and take on there for Boiko, with the red being very close to the green pocket, try and generate some power on the cue ball. The ball cushion is going to be there for him to try and get in towards the ball colours there. Who is the winner of this game playing next, please? Well, unfortunately, I was trying genuinely to find my best to find the draw, but because it's a qualifying and it's because it's going to be into the last 64, I've got 4 names for you. It's Jordan Brown, it's Yuan Pengcheng, it's Marco Fu, that is going to be, unfortunately, a walkover because of his problem with their health. And there was one more, Yuan Sijun there. So one of those 4 is going to be played, but not necessarily sure which one. I'll try and provide information on that as soon as possible. But, I mean, if Ronnie does manage to take this match away with him, I certainly think that we'll be doing the broadcast of, well, the last 64 match featuring RonnieOSullivan, because that's the biggest name on the Snooker Tour so far. But until then, he still has to win 3 more of those frames. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. As I say, you'll be able to find out either when I put the name out of O'Sullivan, is going to be RonnieOSullivan against someone else, or is going to be it's not going to be Iulian Boiko, because I don't think I'll be doing the match of Boiko against Brown. But as I say, we'll have to wait and see on that one. And until then, it's still a chance for Iulian Boiko to try and get himself at least a frame on the board. Going into the intermission there. The reminder, because it's the best of 9, we'll have the 15 minutes break after the 4th frame will end. We already had 46 minutes of action here. So it's been almost an hour since we got the first frame underway. And right now it's Boiko still yet to get the first significant break of his match here. He managed to produce a century break earlier in the qualifiers for the International Championship, but didn't quite get further than that though. With him being beaten by Mark Williams, had to face some tough players there for the world number 88. Zhao Xington, Karen Wilson, Mark Williams, RonnieOSullivan, all being the names that Iulian Boiko had to face, but this is a mistake there for him. He was obviously trying to go for the red into the right middle. He's overlanded there. He's overrun on the cue ball, and he's left himself pretty much with no room to try and get a move on. I think the only real option that he's got to himself now is a difficult shot of trying to pot the red into the right corner, which seems to turn down here. Well, he goes for the simplest shot into the right middle, but the problem with that shot is going to be trying to get the cue ball into one of the colours there, and he's very lucky there. I mean, he's very lucky. He got the perfect kiss of one of the reds on the bunch there, just underneath the pink, and he landed perfectly on this brown here, in towards the green pocket. So a little bit of luck there for the Ukrainian. And he's just studying the position on the lower part of the table to see just how many reds he actually has got to try and deal with here. So try and force the brown in towards the green pocket though. Generate a lot of power on the cue ball as well. And it seems to be a nice line there. And it's a really nice shot there from Boiko. So manages to recover the positional play nicely here. Got the perfect angle on this red to try and get himself either back for the ball colours or try and get the sort of underneath the black and line himself up for the most expensive colour to try and go in towards the right corner pocket there. So 24 points now already scored there for Boiko, his highest break of the match. And I mean, if he does want to get anything out of this particular battle with Ronnie, he needs to make sure he's going to be playing better than what we already seen. And it's a nice shot though to get himself up, lined up on one more red though, using one of those reds as a handbrake there to stop the cue ball and line himself up for a pretty straight shot in towards the left corner. Just about enough angle there to get himself onto the black ball cushion and in for the black into the right corner again. 26 points clear, still 99 on the table. So Boiko's got the foundation and he just has to build on that and avoid running out of position there, which he nearly done there. I mean, it was a straightforward transition from the black onto the red there. But he's got himself into a little bit of trouble. And the angle is going to force the cue ball to go up the table. And, well, potentially having to play a shot off the yellow there. So let me just refresh the stream here because WST Play doesn't seem to be too kind to me. As, yeah. You already managed to pot this red, and I'm already stuck on the sort of buffering there. Should fix that in a couple of seconds. Yeah, so Karama has gone on to Ronnie, so he has to just bear on his time, because that will certainly come. I don't think you're going to see Boiko just win 5 frames on the bounce there. All of those going to be a single frame visits there. As he's got a green lined up in towards the right middle there. In terms of the reds actually available to him, he's got a couple into the right corner. He's got one into the left corner that is going to be a mid-range shot for him to try and take on right now. Because I've been running himself down on the wrong part of the green there, on the wrong side of it. So play through this red. It's actually a pretty straight shot though, so you don't want to be putting too much of topspin on this shot. And in the end, he's decided to stun the cue ball, and he's done it really, really nicely there for the blue. To send it in towards the left middle here. So once again, some more traction on the cue ball to get himself maybe using the left hand cushion of the table. And just try and get himself up for the red in towards the right corner here. Now has to focus on getting the blue first, and he's gone for the shot that I'm not too sure was the right shot actually for him to try and go for. I mean, he's tried to cannon the cue ball into the reds, but the way they were spread out, there was 2 clusters of 3 reds there, and the pink being on top of one of them. He's landing on a really awkward shot to try and take on into the left middle. He's missed this one, and he's left the shot now for Ronnie to try and take into the yellow pocket. So 49 points. So if you had a bet on 50 plus break from Iulian Boiko, shame on you. And really unlucky on that one, because he has to stop with a break of 49 points. And RonnieOSullivan can try and produce a significant break of his own. But starts off with a bad shot though. And Boiko will have one more chance to at least close off the frame, because he's got the same red lined up into the yellow pocket if he wants to take it. He probably has got another shot as a cut in towards the right corner if he fancies that one. But I mean, I will say though, RonnieOSullivan's long shots have never been his biggest strength there. I think they have been in his absolute prime, like 15, 16, 17. Of course, 2012, well, I mean the latest, 2012, 2008, 2013. He was one of the best players in every single aspect, even a long pot. As Boiko starts off nicely there with the red in towards the corner. He's got himself lined up on the yellow into the right middle, but doesn't seem to be happy with the angle that the red finds himself in. So just trying to see how many points is he actually going to be clear here. It's going to be 46 with a yellow, with it being 44 right now. So just play through this shot there, try and put the yellow into the right middle, but he doesn't want to do that. So he thinks he's actually going to go for the defensive style of play, and he's just going to try and take those reds out one by one. As he puts the yellow onto the right side cushion there, Ronnie in no hesitation to try and take at least one of those reds out of the cushion there, but in the end doesn't necessarily improve its position, putting on another cushion there, but ultimately finding a safe shot there for him. So in terms of the reds, they actually look dreadful. 3 of them located underneath the pink. Don't think any of them is possible at this current stage. 2 more on the right and left hand cushion, and 1 more is compromised by the brown. It only goes into the yellow pocket there. So it's going to be a difficult frame for O'Sullivan to try and win, but it's something that we've seen him do multiple times in his career. And so Boiko is actually forced to try and develop those 3 reds, try and send the cue ball in towards the black bow area. And it's a nice shot there for him, because he had to make sure that the cue ball wasn't going to be, well, on top of the cushion, so that O'Sullivan could apply a little bit of backspin there and put Boiko into a little bit of trouble. Instead, O'Sullivan is forced to try and take a red potentially on there into the green pocket along the cushion. Risky shot there. Gets away with it though. Or does he? I mean, this red is available for Boiko to try and take on into the right middle. The problem is, it's a very thin cut there for him, and therefore it's a risky one in terms of controlling the cue ball and making sure the white is going to run safe there for him. So Boiko seems to have something else in his mind, and he'll try and develop that red close by the brown and get the cue ball down the table. But he wants it to run though. He doesn't want it to slow down. He wants it on the cushion. He's not going to get it on the cushion. So all of a sudden, all the issues that O'Sullivan has had previously with those reds, he's only got 1 of those on the left hand cushion, and that's probably it there. As just as I say that, with a really clever shot, he manages to take it out of the left hand cushion, but instead that has gone onto the black ball cushion now. So not necessarily improving the position of the red, but a little tap on the table from Boiko, acknowledging the safety shot. Still finding him in a little bit of trouble here. And just checking the position that he can try and send the cue ball up towards. The top part of the table may be there for him. So all about the next couple of shots now, and it's going to determine the way this frame is gone. Don't think it's going to determine the way the match is going to go. As I say, 2-1 or 3-0. Still going to be O'Sullivan in the lead, going to the latest frame of the first mini session. So I'm going to put him massively as a favourite here. But Boiko, I mean, I don't know what on earth he was thinking trying to play that shot. He's basically committed to leaving a red there for O'Sullivan. So it's all about, if Ronnie makes this red in towards the yellow pocket, he's going to be in with a great chance of winning this frame. As long as he lands on the colour. And he got first part of the task though. Not perfect on the green, not perfect on the brown though. I think he'll ask the referee to clean the brown this time around. So yeah, I'm not too sure what Boiko's intention was on that shot from safety. I mean, if he couldn't see anything better, I mean, he may as well try and put one of those reds onto the cushion there and sacrifice the positional play on the other. But in the end, didn't feel like doing that. And here's the outcome. Still 67 points on the table right now for Ronnie. And realistically, I mean, if this brown disappears into the left middle, which he most certainly will now, he's now 39 points behind. And the only real issue that he's got ahead of himself is the yellow being dead on the right-hand cushion there. But it almost feels like one of those reds that you just need for a brilliant break there. That O'Sullivan has been able to take away from the cushion numerous times during his career and probably in this season already. All the other reds are going to be in quite a nice positional sense of play as he takes the first couple out of the game here. So as I say, it was going to be the next couple of shots that were going to determine the destiny of this frame, and so far it still looks like it's going to be O'Sullivan's frame to lose here. He's got himself lined up on one more red in towards the right middle now. Try and play the cue ball and cannon it into the other red. Nice shot there for him, but ultimately he's got himself an angle on the blue, which I don't think he would have liked here. Has to play the shot with a lot of power now. Rattle the blue in and generate a lot of power on the cue ball. But what a nice shot that is. And once again, O'Sullivan just makes it look so easy there for him. I mean, it just feels like the cue is an extension of his arm there. Whichever one you want. You can play left-handed shots. You can play right-handed shots. You can play the shots from the rest there. You can play the wrong shots. He can do anything that he wants there. And for now, he's got 35 points on the table. He's got 34 that he already managed to accumulate. He'll be 39 with his blue here. And, well, once again, the only issue he's had was the yellow. He decided to take that one and leave it up until last. So save the best for last here for us. He's got a nice little shot here for the red into the right middle. And which colour is he trying to line himself up for? Probably for the black here. Wants a little bit of an angle, and I think he's going to be perfect here. I think he underrun slightly though. So just play through these blacks, send it into the yellow. Yeah, as I say, I think he underrun that one, and I think he knew it. Because even though he's applied as much topspin as he could have, he's still landing on top part of the yellow, and ultimately that's going to cost him the positional play. And once again, not quite a 50 plus break here. So 41 points. And the end of a break there for Ronnie. But now puts himself only 3 points away there from Boiko. And what looked like it was going to be a little bit of an inevitable play for Iulian to try and win this frame. It's turned into O'Sullivan once again being a massive favourite. Snookering Boiko for good measure as well here. You can try and swerve around the pink here, but so little distance there for the cue ball. Either he has to judge the pace perfectly, or he just has to hope for luck there. In the end, probably goes for the right decision, trying to play of a cushion first shot, trying to get the yellow. Pretty much full ball there, but doesn't want it to catch the pink here. I think he's alright in terms of the yellow probably not being possible into the right middle. But he still didn't want to give it away in the green pocket there for Ronnie. So it's all about if the yellow actually goes through there into the middle pocket. I don't think it does. Ronnie has gone for a safety shot there. And I think he's probably just about played it perfectly there, because it looked like the yellow was going to show enough of itself for Boiko to try and see, but seems to slow down just in time for him. So all about if he can try and swerve around the blue and brown here and try and get it on the way back. The answer is yes, he can. And he actually manages to put it safe there. So once again, lovely shot there from Iulian, finding himself on the receiving end of things so far here, but being able to cope with it and sustain the pressures. Once again, Ronnie comes away with a brilliant safety shot here. And all the pressure is going to go back to Iulian Boiko here. So put through this shot now. Try and send the cue ball in towards the bulk area here. Get the yellow in towards the right hand cushion here. But I'm not too sure he's played this one as well as he could have. I think there's going to be room there for O'Sullivan to try and get through to this yellow. Whereas it looked like it was going to be a straightforward snooker attempt there for him. And what does O'Sullivan have to respond? He doesn't want the yellow to rattle the jaws in. And he won't do that. And it's a brilliant shot once again now. So some brilliant safety that we've seen lately in between the two players. And now it's Boiko's turn to try and respond with one more of those shots. So sending the yellow down the table, you would think there. Trying to just have the cue ball stick around for the top part of the table at that time of asking. And this is what he's managed to do here, but don't think he would have liked to see the yellow going into the gap of the black here, because that's going to be an invitation here for RonnieOSullivan to try and put the cue ball in behind the black here. It's a lovely shot off cushion first there from Ronnie, and Boiko knows that he probably put himself into a lot of trouble here. And he's lucky that he can just about get through to that yellow and see enough of that shot. I think he can there, but it's going to be awkward for him in terms of trying to control where those two are going to end up. Yeah, you can definitely see the yellow. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So it's all about just which angle of the yellow you can actually see there. And the reason why it was taking so long is because he wanted to see enough of that yellow to try and send it down the table, but he's played a horrible shot there, and he's very lucky yet again to not leave it away into the right middle. I mean, if he hasn't left it, Ronnie's looking like he can potentially try and pot it here, and yes, he can. So I thought he got down for that shot way too quickly in terms of playing the safety shot. He can indeed try and pot this yellow in towards the right middle. Get himself lined up for a straightforward clearance there. I think he only will need the pink as his frame ball now. Won't need the black, and to be fair to him, even if he did need the black, it wasn't going to make any sort of difference, as it's a straightforward clearance from here. The brown is going to disappear, the blue will follow its example, and then he will line himself up for a shot for a 3-0 lead there against Iulian Boiko. And it's a lovely start there from Ronnie to get himself 3 frames clear of his opponents. He's now 11 points clear as he just looks at the scoreboard, and Boiko will certainly see this as an opportunity taken away from him, but he only's got himself to blame, as once again it will be RonnieOSullivan for the win in the third frame. And a lovely little sign to see Ronnie putting the black on every single one of those occasions, and ending on a break of 27 points, get himself up for a 3-0 lead. It is now RonnieOSullivan 3, Iulian Boiko 0, going into the last frame of the opening mini session here. So lovely to see what Ronnie's managing to produce here so far. And until then, we can actually try and go for Mark Williams going 2-all there with Zhou Jinhao, something that I didn't expect until that match has actually started there. Ryan Day is leading against Zhou Yilong by 1 frame to 0. And Aaron Hill, the maximum boy, still battling for a 3rd frame there against Huan Jingxiao. Ronnie loves China. Yeah, as I say, I think he mentioned in the interview a couple of months ago, I'm not too sure if that was about China Grand Prix or the International Championship, but he said it's his favourite tournament to go for. out of all of them. But I'm just a little bit surprised that he missed out on Wuhan Open. I get that he was really exhausted from Saudi Arabia, but if you know that you're going to miss English Open and then British Open as well, you could have tried to go for it, but of course didn't feel like it. And, well, by the way, Stuart Bingham and Matthew Seller have only just finished the opening frame, whereas Mark Williams and Zhou Jinghao has already managed to put 4 frames past them and are off into the 15 minutes intermission there. And Ronnie, I mean, it's all about patience now for him, because the second and third frame has been a bit different to what we've seen in the opening frame, where it was a single visit to the table there, and he didn't have to do too much in terms of the positional play. And he managed to grind out the second and third frame to his advantage, and in the end he's got himself a 3-0 lead now. How is Chris Wakelin doing? I'm pretty sure his match was going to start after all of these are finished, because I don't see it being live there, unless he's actually lost out already. Let's have a little look. So I can't see his match here. I know he was losing there by 3 frames to 4. Yeah, so it's still interrupted. And yeah, no real sign of him resuming that match. Not too sure what that's all about. But we're still off Chris Wakelin being down by 1 frame there, losing by 3 frames to 4. And he's going to be resumed at some point. I mean, probably tomorrow. Can't really see it being resumed right now, with it being so late in China already. As we've got RonnieOSullivan coming back to the table here. Thank you, no worries. So yeah, in terms of what we've seen already in terms of the results, Louis Heathcote, David Lely, Elias Lesser, Karen Wilson, Yuan Sijun there, Gary Wilson, and Stephen Maguire, Jack Jones, Liu Haotian, Judd Trump, Zhao Xington, and Neil Robertson, someone that I forgot to mention, are all of the high-seeded names that have managed to progress into the last 64. But what happened to Chris Wakelin match? And basically, I think he was running way too slowly there. So it started at 3 o'clock, but because they've got a schedule, like, it has to stop after a 4-hour gap, so that the likes of Neil Robertson, Judd Trump, Zhao Xington were able to start off their match. I think they had to suspend it, and which is because they never do it after 7 frames. It's always like 8 frames or something, but they had to do it at that time. And in the end, I think it will have to be resumed tomorrow, because I don't think there's going to be any sort of slot for you to try and put it into today's session there. But I'm sure it'll get resolved in one way, shape or form, as we're still waiting for Iulian Boiko to return to the table. Ronnie is sat in his chair waiting patiently. Probably can't wait to, well, be up around at least. And I think we're going to find out who is the player that he's actually going to be facing here. As I say, it's going to be either Jordan Brown, Yuan Pichen, Martin Baranovsky, Scott Donaldson. One of those 4. So I'm just going to guess to say that it's going to be Martin Baranovsky, because it's 20% chance. And if I get it, I can say I always knew that one. But anyway, in other way, shape or form, it's going to be Iulian Boiko to get us underway in the 4th frame. So after one youngster, RonnieOSullivan could still face, well, it's either going to be a real youngster there of Martin Baranovsky, or it's going to be one of those experienced players of Yuan Ping Cheng, Scott Donaldson, or Jordan Brown there. Don't think he's going to want to face the man from Northern Ireland, because these two have got a little bit of history there. The Welsh Open final in 2021 there, I think it was 2021, it's finished badly in favour of Jordan Brown. His first and only ranking title to this date came against RonnieOSullivan in a decided that, where O'Sullivan was trailing by, I think it was 7 frames to 1 there, managed to come back and win a lot of frames on the bounce, but ultimately still came away short there in a decided performance. Yeah, amazing game that was. Well, I mean, it's just so Ronnie-like when he's trailing by 7 or 6 frames. He's done the same against Robertson, hasn't he? And he managed to climb back off, I don't know, 6-7 frames, get himself within a touching distance of winning, and will still lose that one. But I suppose that stat is going to be compromised by the amount of matches actually won. So if you win 50 finals, you're always going to lose at least 15 of them. That's just the way of the maths does work for you. And no doubt that he is the greatest of all time in that aspect, and probably the only thing that makes him share that spot with Stephen Hendry is going to be the 7 world titles, something that he still could be on the cards of changing in the future, as he finds a nice little plan there that he's going to get him 1 point and probably it there at that time of asking, because he hasn't landed on any of the bold colours. Brown played great winning frame. Yeah, I mean, the fact that he's managed to do it in a single visit to the table, whilst, I don't know, being the world number, what, 76 at that time or something like that. It was basically RonnieOSullivan going for the shot. He manages to take a really difficult red in towards the left corner, but then he either missed the pink or he didn't actually land on the pink. But whatever it was, the next chance that Jordan Brown's had, he's actually managed to take it off there. And, you know, we've never seen RonnieOSullivan since then in that match, because it was over at that time. He stepped back to the table. So credit to Jordan Brown there. Once again, we find ourselves with a little bit of a safety play here in between the two players, as RonnieOSullivan will have the benefit of the touch and ball to his name. And just sends the cue ball up the table, and this time it will be Iulian Boiko to ask the referee to try and clean the white there to make it, well, look better there for him and produce better cue action as well. Once again, attempt number 2 now from Boiko. And it's a decent shot there. I mean, it was similar to the one that he's tried to do on the previous time of asking. Don't think he's got the red though. So let's see if 4 points are going to be awarded to him. Of course, me listening with no audio, I'm going to have to just wait to see if the scoreboard is going to update, but it doesn't seem like it actually will do. And, well, as O'Sullivan asks the referee to put the cue ball back there, you can sort of guess that it did underrun there. My odds didn't fail me at that time. And it will be attempt number 2 now for Boiko, something that, you know, he had to do in the second and third frame, and did manage to get himself without real damage in terms of giving up the positional play. But right now, just checking the referee that cue ball is going to be in exact position there. And attempt number 2 coming up. So once again, same trajectory, just a little bit more pace there from Boiko. Doesn't want to leave a touch and ball though, and I think he's done a decent job of trying to do that. Is there a big crowd there, please? Nothing that I can see, but remember, this is still qualifying. Don't think we are playing at the main arena, because usually the way the qualifiers work is, the way they certainly worked in the International Championship is you have no fans at all. So you'll have one person maybe from each of the players' camp there, but it's not really available for the fans to try and attend. I think when we get to the main stage, because we haven't, well, I haven't seen any of the players perform there yet, because we're still waiting on O'Sullivan, Trump, Robertson, Sington, try and get there. And I think when we get to the last 64 of these players featuring, I think I'll be able to answer that question. But I think there will be, as I say, from... there's an answer for you. When I didn't see, when I heard Trump's maximum, the way I realised it was something big, and the way I went on the jog there, because I've heard a massive, an absolutely massive roar from the crowd. Something that you only hear and you only see from the crowd when the player like Neil Robertson, like RonnieOSullivan, like Trump makes a maximum break. And I mean, it certainly was loud there, so you would think there is a big crowd here in China, but for now it is a big problem here for RonnieOSullivan as he misses up a red in towards the left corner. And now Boiko has got a red in towards the left corner here. And he refuses that one actually, so he tries to go for the red in towards the middle there. In the end, looks like probably the right decision there for him to try and make, because he lands really nicely on this browning towards the green pocket. And just looking to see if there's a way of a straightforward shot that he'll get himself up for the red in towards the right corner. He could try to just put some distance in between the cue ball and the red and not necessarily worry too much about the positional side of play. And that's exactly what he's done there. So just minimize the angle, but put a lot of distance there in between the cue ball and the red. Probably not the professional way of playing this shot, but it's certainly the safer way of doing it to make sure you're not really going to run yourself out of position here. But, I mean, that is why it is unprofessional to play that shot, because you almost sort of taking that red for granted there, and he's almost said, well, you know what, I'm going to back myself there. Is John Higgins playing? I will double check there. I haven't seen his name, but I do think he's actually managed to qualify for the China Grand Prix before. No, you know what it is? I think he lost out in a decider to someone. I'll double check in the break of the intermission. I'll let you know to that, but I think he lost out in a decider of one of the qualifying rounds. So, don't think it's going to be John. He certainly was a decider. Whether he won or lost it, I'm yet to double check that. But until then, it's RonnieOSullivan trying to take a red into the green pocket, and he manages to do that brilliantly there. So, as the break will end of just 5 points there for Boiko. Thanks. Yeah, no worries. Certainly know that it's going to be Selby, because I was actually doing the match of him against Gong Jinji there of the China Grand Prix. And O'Sullivan is going to be really unlucky here as he goes for a massive split off the blue. Doesn't seem to land on any of the reds. But yeah, I know that we've got Allen in the play. I know that we've got Selby, Williams, Zhao, Ding. Obviously Robertson, Chomp, Wilson there. Not sure if I'm missing anyone. Barry Hawkins is going to be here as well. Chris Wakelin, as we all know. Wu Yiz is going to be here. Li Beifan. So we're going to have a really good draw in terms of the quality play. And it's all about, let's see how many of those seeded players we can actually try and keep there. We're going to lose one of those with Ali Carter against Stan Moody tomorrow morning. Well, I say morning. If you're watching in Europe, it's going to be pretty much the afternoon there if you're watching in China. As RonnieOSullivan has to go for a safety shot at that time of asking, and ask Iulian Boiko to try and go for a little bit of a defensive shot there, trying to send the cue ball down the table. And leaves a potential shot now, though, for RonnieOSullivan to try and take this red into the left corner, send the cue ball towards the top part of the table here. So talk about a definition of a confident shot here. I think it's very important for him to try and get on the break here, really, because I think you'll want this over now, realistically, because there's not going to be any sort of challenge, especially if he wins the fourth frame here, 4-0 win. Ahead of the second mini session is going to be a straightforward breeze there, so he can afford to go for those sort of shots. And he can sort of say to himself that if I miss it, so be it. I'll probably have to settle for one more chance later in this frame. But surprisingly to me, he has turned down the shot into the left corner. I mean, it was a difficult one, but as I say, when you've got a 3-0 of a gap and your opponent is not necessarily playing the snooker of his life, I think when you're at the world number 4, you can afford to go for these types of shots, but Ronnie clearly not feeling for that one. Boiko responds with a decent safety shot of his own. And O'Sullivan has to find the edge of the red once again onto the left-hand side of it. Send the cue ball up the table, and has got a really nice line to get himself in behind the yellow here. And it's a really nice shot there from Ronnie. Acknowledgement from Boiko this time around. As, I mean, with the way the reds have actually spread out, I don't think it's going to be too easy of a shot for Boiko, because the left-hand side is going to be tricky because of the way the cue ball is actually positioning behind the yellow. I mean, it's almost like the pocket is going to be in the way of the left-hand side of the table. And also, you're going to have to struggle in terms of making sure that you're not actually going to give a red away into the right corner there. So it's 6 points, remember, in between the two players. Still 123 on the table, so nothing in between the two. And whoever gets the next chance of a successful break and actually manages to make something out of it will be in with a great chance of making it their frame to lose. But for now, Boiko has to focus on escaping from the position that he finds himself in. And land the top part of this thread, though. Doesn't want too much of a bounce here on the cue ball. And, I mean, is he alright here? Or is O'Sullivan going to go for a risky shot of the plan here in towards the right corner? Yes, he will. And, well, I mean, when he hasn't gone for the shot into the left corner there, I'm surprised to see him go for this plan. There was so much distance in between the two reds. But he's committed to it. And he's thought, you know what? I waited long enough. This is my chance. I'll try to take it on. Sacrificed a lot of pace on the white here. So has to make sure that the black is going to be in here as well. Doesn't want the red to drop though. Into the middle. And it's actually gone perfectly there for Ronnie. Because that red is going to be potable now. Into the same middle pocket. Or he can always try and leave it as a backup option for the future. But it doesn't look like it's going to be a lot more future in this frame for Iulian Boiko though. Because he's going to find himself 15 points behind and counting. 107 on the table currently. That number could evaporate very quickly if RonnieOSullivan finds at least the third gear. I think that's going to be enough for him to get the frame on the board. Now on the break of 14 points already. So many reds to try and choose from. So far going for the ones close to the right corner pocket. Free up the black to go into either one of those. Once again, just play through this shot on the black here in towards the left corner. And get himself lined up for the red in the opposite side of the table. And we're going to be heading into the intermission with a 4-0 lead there for RonnieOSullivan. Should he make this break count there for him? 28 points clear, still 99 on the table. So I think a break of 50 points will pretty much do all the damage there to Iulian Boiko. Sullivan's pretty much halfway there then. So the black and cue ball being sent in behind the red there. Not too sure why he had to go for that shot selection, because that's going to put him into a little bit of difficulty of a shot now. But he manages to get himself out of that situation really, really nicely, develop all the reds that he will need, even for a century break really. But now has to focus on getting this frame, the one that counts for him. And overrun slightly now for the shot into the right middle. Probably has to settle for a shot in towards the right corner this time around. Unless he still wants to take this shot into the left corner. So not too sure about it. Once again, just clearing up the little dents in the table. One thing that is actually lovely to see is Ronnie is taking this seriously. So whoever thought this is going to be just an exhibition performance. I mean, it says that it is not so far. With him producing a break of 39 already here and still counting, 75 on the table. Technically more than enough points there for him to try and replicate and potentially improve on the highest break of the match here. Made in the opening frame there by Ronnie. Making it 53 points right now there for him. And still counting as he gets another red really nicely in towards the left corner. The black to go into the right this time around. Once again, go around the red and line himself up for a shot into the same pocket there. 56 points clear. So next colour is going to be frame ball for a 4-0 lead there for RonnieOSullivan. In no time, he managed to turn around the position. No Luca again. Yeah, I don't think I've seen his name there. I think I'm going to have to say, you know what it was? I'm pretty sure. You know the famous Sonny Akani exit there? That was Luca. You know when he was losing 2 frames to 0 and he walked out, by the way, it is frame ball gone, so 4-0 O'Sullivan. When it was awarded there, basically did like, you know when Ronnie walked out on Hendry in that famous semi-final of the UK Championship? Yeah. So he basically done the same and that was awarded. Because I remember looking at the scoreboard and I was saying, why was that saying awarded there? It wasn't saying a walkover, it wasn't saying like sort of, I don't know, the match hasn't started. It was saying awarded. So I went into the media and Akani was winning by 2 frames to 0. He missed one of those shots of the red. So obviously it's turn for Brussels to come back to the table. And he just came back to shake his hand there and say, you know, well, in the post-match interview, he actually said, yeah, I wasn't playing well, so I'm not necessarily unhappy with myself, but it just wasn't my day, and I couldn't do anything more than I actually already have managed to do. So, you know, it was one of those things. But in the end, Luca Brazil managed to find his form at the English Open, getting himself into the quarter-final stage, ultimately coming up short there against the brilliant decider of Joe Yulon's campaign. And right now we've got 27 points on the table for Ronnie. You only need 15 of those for a century break. And as he gets the yellow nicely, so probably was the toughest of the shot for a century break now. It is a straightforward 5-color clearance now for RonnieOSullivan. We'll only need the brown, blue and pink here for the century. So could go for a break of 108 points if my math is correct. And 110 points scored and 99 points of a break now. So my math is actually very wrong here. So you can go for 112 points of a break. Now 105 here, and it is a century break for RonnieOSullivan. Brilliant stuff there for him as he rattles the black in as well. It is now a 4-0 lead, and it is 2 centuries there for RonnieOSullivan as he will end the first mini session with a flawless performance. Iulian Boiko has to find himself battling for just a single frame there, and it is going to be RonnieOSullivan 4, Iulian Boiko 0. And as usual, we'll be back after the 15 minutes intermission. Game done, it certainly is. And yeah, we'll continue doing the broadcast of this event, and very much looking forward to what the scoreline is going to be. For now, it is RonnieOSullivan dominating the thing here. And after a quick intermission break, we are now back with you, everybody. And yeah, lovely to see the main man, Kevin, in the chat there, doing all the hard work and explaining what has happened there. And actually, when I was reading Yon Lad from Ukraine, I thought that was my description, but obviously Boiko and me sharing basically the same age there, and sharing the same country of birth, could easily confuse one with another. But for now, he is definitely getting the better of this current safety play, as he just managed to snooker O'Sullivan in brilliant fashion there. Get the cue ball in behind the green nicely. And O'Sullivan has got to find himself being in a position that he hasn't really been throughout the entire match here. Although he does have a healthy 4-0 lead though to his name. And I think 2 cushion escape off the bulk cushion there, and using the left hand side of the table is going to be the easiest option that he's got to his name. But we'll have to wait and see how that one will pan out, because he doesn't seem to be too optimistic about it though. Let's see what he's got in his mind though. And of course you have to do analysis of O'Sullivan, the opening 4 frames. 2 of them have been a bit scrappy, and 2 of them have been dominated there by Ronnie. You have to say he's probably been the best that you could actually expect from him after such a lengthy break away from a professional snooker. But this line is absolutely perfect. Didn't really want to see the red go on the back of the red though, or of the cue ball though. Boiko could try and pot the same red in towards the left corner. It's a difficult cut there for him, but 4-0 you may as well go for those types of shots, you would think. And let's see what his decision is going to be. I think he does go for the shot. Maybe he's actually trying to avoid it and just use the red on top of it as a safety play there. In the end, changes the target ball there for him. And catches that one pretty thick though. Cuba is going to have nowhere near enough traction as he would want though. In towards there. Getting himself back for the ball cushion there. So not necessarily play this shot in the best possible manner. And just has to take his time now on the approach, Ronnie, to make sure he doesn't give one more chance away. And just develop some of those reds into the open play. Push the black though towards the corner pocket. And doesn't really want it to be there though, because that's going to stop the flow of red balls into the same corner until that black is going to be dispatched there. So that's going to take a little bit of time there. As by the way, Ding Wei and Mark Williams both are very close in towards progressing to the main draw as well. Williams is currently leading Xi'An by 3 frames to 2, and Ding Wei himself is leading Sam Craig there by 3 frames to 1. So we'll be looking forward to see how those respective matches will finish. We're going to see the best of Ding Wei and Mark Williams after neither of them really have had the best start to the season. And for now, it's a decent escape there from Boiko. As I can see, Ding finds himself on a break. So looking to make it a 4-1 lead. And O'Sullivan will be looking to make it a 5-0 lead, of course, to his name. As he finds a lovely little trajectory line to send the cue ball up the table. And nicely away from all the danger area there. Now Boiko has to try and do something about it. Of course, I think this frame is going to go for a long time, simply for the reason of all those reds being bunched up very closely. And I mean, majority of them are going to be aimed towards the left corner pocket, which is where the black is currently sitting, of course. So that's not going to be ideal, but until then, we still have loads of time here for the safety play to try and unfold. And it probably is going to be one of those frames where the first real error is going to matter. A big deal there, because whoever makes this first mistake is going to put himself into a lot of problems there. As Boiko there just checking the angle of that red, as Sullivan finds himself underrunning for the bulk area. And Boiko is looking to try and exploit that, potentially try and screw the cue ball heavily into one of those reds and send it up the table there. Don't think that's going to happen though. And this time And on this occasion, yes, he has got to be careful though, Boiko, because I think there's a big difference for his point of view in claiming one of those frames and just, being whitewash. It's not going to be pretty there for him. But let's see what he's actually going to be able to produce here. Because if he manages to get one of those frames away from Ronnie, you never know, he can try and start to do a little bit of a comeback of some sort. And, 4-2 scoreline is going to be very different to being 4-0 down there for him. But until then, he doesn't find anything better than just to roll up to one of those reds that was available there to him. And settle for O'Sullivan, taking all of the momentum here. Screwing into the cue ball with a lot of power there. I mean, that is my point of view. O'Sullivan doesn't seem to be too keen on doing that because he's pushed the red over the middle pocket now for Boiko. Yeah, I mean, he's just played that one a little bit scrappy there, Ronnie. You could have played that red into the cushion. Instead, he tries to play it into the bunch of reds, and I don't think he'll be happy with himself because that's going to allow Boiko to be on the front foot to an extent here. And, I mean, is he going to see the black from this position? One of the only positions on the table that you're actually not going to see the black from is the position that Boiko finds himself after potting that red. Of course, he still has got the yellow to his sort of rescue that he can try and roll in towards the right middle. But where you're going to find the next red is a question there for him. And he's managed to find a lot of the angle on, though, on the cue ball, and he's got himself out of the trouble. And it's a nice little shot there for him, because that gives him all the access to the expensive colours, the pink and the black here. If he just takes the black out of the right corner pocket now, it's going to be very important there for him. And he's going to go back on his spot, obviously. And he's obviously going to be potted as well into both of the corner pockets. But Boiko there just overrunning for the red slightly. Not going to be perfect in terms of the angle on this shot. And, well, yeah, has to settle for an alright positional shot. And I think he'll want to get the pink out of the way as soon as possible. I think until then, it's not going to be in the way massively. He can try and just navigate his way around the black here. So let's see what Boiko can actually try and produce off this break. So far, his highest break has been the break of 49 points. I think that was in the third frame. And it looked like that was going to be enough there for him. But in the end, still manages to lose that frame there. At that time of asking. But can he make it? At least a scoreline of 4 frames to 1. Being on the break of 19 now. Being in and around his favourite spot. In and around the black zone. Is actually quite successful when it comes to building a break on the black spot. He just has to avoid the silly errors after doing all of the hard work there. So 27 points already scored there for him and counting. Still no sign of slowing down just yet. And he's got another quite straightforward red that he can try and decelerate the cue ball off from. And use the left-hand cushion to his advantage to get himself in for the black there, in towards the left corner. He manages to do it nicely, but lands too straight on the black though. It's going to make the next shot a bit awkward though. But so far it is 5 reds, not 5 blacks, but 5 colours there for him, and 35 points there scored. And decent performance there for him. And I mean, he's gone for the red that I don't think was really on there. He's tried to develop those reds, but he sacrificed a lot of the position on the black now, and this is risky. This is not the shot that you want to be taking on with being 4-0 down. Surely you just have to take it red by red there. But he didn't think that. And now finds himself in an awkward position to try and pot this black into the right corner. Not going to be easy though. And he has to make sure he doesn't miss this one. And leave this brilliant position that he surely is right now with the reds to RonnieOSullivan. Probably the last player in the world that you want to leave that position up to. No matter if he's playing well or not. You're more than likely to be punished for the mistakes on this position. So Boiko taking a lot of time now on this approach to the shot. And clearly fancying himself to pot the black, but as I say, I think that was the wrong shot that he played previously. And I can't really see if he's given too many of those reds away to Ronnie to try and take into the left corner right now. But let's see what he's got available. Is he gonna go for the double here? Come on, the Kiev Dynamo. Well, I mean, he is. I would say he's more of a, I know he is from Kiev, but I would say he's more of a Shakhtar Donetsk. I think he does well against tough opponents, but then he just misses the easy chances there, Boiko. So let's see what he's got up against now, because he has to wait for a mistake from Ronnie, but he's not going to have to wait too long there, because he just left himself a double to take on there for Ronnie, but he misses it, and well, I mean, Boiko does have a red in towards the right middle for him. But that's probably the only shot that he can actually try and take off here. Apart from that, it's all going to be really difficult. But the good news is the cue ball is going to go up towards the black ball area. So it's not going to give any of those reds away. And then once again, nice little positional shot on the white. Although it does miss the red into the right middle. That his snooker name was youngest professional player. Nah, come on. Don't tell me that. I thought you were talking about the football team. Never actually heard about the. And by the way, how are you saying that he's going to be the youngest if I know that Michael Subashuk in 2020? Nah, there's no way. In 2020, you would have been the 16 years of age, but still, you've got Michael Subashuk, which is 14 years of age now. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 14 years of age right now, and, well, I mean, Boiko should be a bit more mature than that, because he's just gone for the shot that wasn't really there for him, and he's left potential red now for RonnieOSullivan into the left middle. Does he want to go for this shot, though? There's going to be another question there for him. And Ding Joyas, by the way, lost out on the break, and is now Sam Craig that is currently at the table trying to make the most out of it. And he's got quite a decent position ahead of him. So I'll be looking forward to see how frame 5 will end there. But for now, Ronnie refuses to go for the shot into the right middle. And just tries to slow the play down slightly. And put some distance in between the cue ball and the reds there. As he leaves the table. And only one red that Boiko can actually see there for a cross double on the left hand side of the table. I think that's going to be the red that he actually tries to go for, unless he wants to go cushion first there. Which I would be surprised if that's the approach. With so much of the distance in between the reds and the cushion there. I mean, Boiko has gone for a little bit of a do or die shot. He probably was considering the fact that he can't really give away any of the reds, but he's trying to use the black that was very close to the right corner pocket to his advantage and roll a red off that shot. Didn't work out in the end. And Ronnie will just try and go for a red into the green pocket, and he's taken that one absolutely brilliantly there. So what a shot he's made there. And, well, I mean, as I say, it looked like it was going to be Boiko's frame to lose, but with the current state of the position, this is prime RonnieOSullivan position, because 4 of these reds are potable, and 4 more are going to be available in one way, shape or form there for Ronnie. So all about trying to get through those early reds, and then I think the rest of the position is going to be straightforward there for Ronnie. But until then, he has to focus on the red along the cushion here, into the right corner, get himself nicely on the black here, as he does. So that probably was the most difficult of the reds. The brown is slightly out of position on top part of the bulk area, as Ronnie goes for the escape shot. Screws back heavily into the cushion there. But yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to pay the price for the shot, because he's still got a nice little red into the corner, although he's lost the cue ball slightly. And unless he can see enough of the pink, I think he'll have to go for a difficult blue in towards the left middle. I think he can just about see enough of the pink to send it back on his spot. I think he'll be a little bit premature there. unless he's actually calculated that the pink will go back on his spot. So 6 points is going to be his though. And he's just having a look to see which of the reds he's going to try and take on next. Surely he's going to be the one into the right corner. Simply the easier of the two to try and play on. But he's overscrewed massively for this red now. And he manages to take it. I mean, it was a difficult shot into the right corner, but he's managed to recover from the little bit of a misjudgment in the positional play. And right now, it's back in amongst the reds. He's just developed 2 of those and put one of them into the left corner. Only 5 points behind right now, with still 59 on the table. So still very much on the run right now is Ronnie. And it's all eyes on the way he manages to develop the position in the current state. I think those 4 reds are going to be enough there for him to get himself over the line. And well, it's going to be a very tough ending there for Iulian Boiko. He certainly could have won a frame or 2 to his name, but instead it looks like he has to end this one on a whitewash, and unless we see a late twist here and a late mistake from RonnieOSullivan, something that you don't see very often there from the Rocket. But it's never quite over until it actually is over. So 46 points right now to his name. And a difficult red into the right corner though. So I did say the position is not perfect there for him. And he just has to make this one work there. And the red is not going to go in there. So, I mean, you could see that one coming. You could probably see that one coming a little bit earlier. Not at this stage. But are we going to go the extra frame and potentially to the 6 frame distance here? Because RonnieOSullivan has missed the red in towards the right corner. Wasn't the easiest reds, but was certainly one of those reds that you would expect him to try and pot. And in the end, it's Boiko's chance once again. But, I mean, what was that cut there for him? He manages to get the red in, but massively sacrifices the position of the cue ball onto the black there. And he's got an absolute mountain to climb if he wants to continue the break. Not only does he have to put a difficult black into the right corner, he also has to develop the 2 reds by some chance. And he manages to get the black in, but don't think he's going to be perfect on any one of those reds. Unless they actually go past each other, that's going to be very handy there for him. So all about the next couple of shots now for Boiko. I mean, this is really marginal. And it was marginal, but he's managed to miss it. It was a difficult red for him to try and take on, but he actually got very, very lucky in the end, landing exactly underneath the blue there. The next shot is going to be very awkward for RonnieOSullivan. And apart from that, it probably would have been frame and match over. And until then, it's not quite just the way it is, because we're going to see at least one more shot there for him. Surely no way Sullivan will try and go for the cut here into the left corner. Well, he's gone for the cut of the cue ball into the right corner there. Don't think that was planned though. He's going to give 4 foul points away to his opponent, as Ding Jue, by the way, manages to overcome all the difficulties in his match against Sam Craig and get a very important 5th frame on the board. Let's see if RonnieOSullivan could try and do a similar sort of thing here, as Boiko goes for a little bit of a wild card. It's something that you don't really see happen. Sullivan is put back in the position of the 2 reds being visible. So all about producing a good little safety shot on these 2. And get the cue ball up the table with a nice little top spin. Is he going to give that red away though into the left corner? I think he will. So it's not going to be perfect, but he probably is just about as much as he could have done from the position that he found himself in. And Boiko has to... Well, I mean, he can try and go for this red. Don't think it necessarily matters in terms of you'll still have to get one more of those reds being resting on the cushion right now at this moment in time. And he did go for the red, but he sort of went with it with no real intention of getting on the black, which means that he was hesitating and didn't have a lot of confidence in the shot. I think O'Sullivan will try and go for a simple safety shot now. Try to get the cue ball as far from those two reds as is possible. Potentially lay off a snooker on at least one of them. I think he didn't manage to do it on either of them though. And right now will be Boiko just trying to do a little cross double. Just has to avoid the double kiss. And he hasn't managed to do it. So all he had to do was avoid the double kiss on the red, because he's gone for the one that had a little bit of an angle to it, because the way he had to play this shot is use a lot of left spin on the cue ball. Obviously didn't use enough of it, or he caught the red too thick, because he caught that one with a double kiss pretty significantly. Leaves the red away now for Ronnie into the right middle. A lot of power, a lot of confidence, and a lot of accuracy there by Rocket. And we are going to see one more attempt now from RonnieOSullivan. The remaining red, though, is on the cushion. I think the angle that he's got on the blue currently is going to be pretty much perfect from what he wants out of this shot. And just get the cue ball, nudge the red in towards the green pocket there. And it's a decent effort. If that red goes past the green, I think he'll be nicely away for a total clearance here and a 5-0 lead. And if it doesn't, he'll have to go for a more difficult of a shot into the middle pocket. And I mean, wow, I mean, that was missed by a mile there by Ronnie. He's gone for the shot into the green pocket, but he's caught the green on the way in. So whatever he was thinking about there, doesn't seem like it's paid off there for him. But having a look at the scoreboard, the main problem that he's got now, I think this red is going to be potted now by Iulian, but the brown is not going to be easy, and the transition from the brown to the blue is going to be absolute nightmare, because blue is currently sitting on the pink position, on the pink spot. But until then, Boiko needs a big bounce off the black ball cushion, and he's nowhere near good enough of a position for a straightforward ending, you would say. He's got a blue to try and take on into the yellow pocket, but he just compromises himself now, because the angle on the yellow is not going to be perfect in any way, shape or form, and he's managed to miss the blue as well. The good news though for him is it's going to be in the way of the yellow, so Ronnie can't finish off the match just yet. And let's see if the yellow is going to be potted though by the Rocket. He can try and transition it with a cross double and send the cue ball down the table, put the pink in between the two, and he's managed to do it really, really nicely here. So Boiko now having a look to see if yellow can be just cannoned in towards the brown there. Send the colour worth 4 points up towards the green pocket. And as I say, it's all about getting the yellow in at this stage, and then just trying to get yourself on the green for a straightforward clearance. It's a decent shot there from Boiko, but it's not quite as good as O'Sullivan's was previously, because it doesn't put him under any sort of trouble. So Ronnie can try and get the cue ball in behind the green if he wants to, or as an alternative, put the cue ball and the yellow on the opposite sides of the table, and put the pink and the brown in between the two. That's exactly what he's done. But I think he would have liked to see the yellow being up the table a little bit more there. So let's see if Boiko can catch this yellow nicely, and he can. And is he going to be available to O'Sullivan? I mean, he can see this one, but I don't think he can pot it. And it all comes down to pretty much potting this yellow right now. You're going to be away into the main draw for O'Sullivan, or into the sixth frame if you're Iulian Boiko there. So now Ronnie finds a decent shot on the yellow. The black is going to be compromised, but don't think at this stage is going to matter. Don't think any of the players will need the black for the win in this frame. And Boiko will just try to do similar sort of thing that O'Sullivan did, and once again just push the yellow in towards the safe zone there, where the blue is covering up the yellow pocket. So Ronnie just has to send the yellow onto the opposite side of the table and try and get the cue ball in behind the blue potentially. Has he managed to do it? Yes, he has, and it's a brilliant shot there by the Rocket. There's going to be a lot of distance there in between the yellow and the nearest cushion. So this could be the shot that wins RonnieOSullivan this match there against Iulian Boiko. And it could be just one shot too many for Iulian Boiko to try and find escape from. Because it's not only about trying to get the yellow, it's all about trying to get himself onto the safe zone there for the cheapest of the colours. So this shot is going to define the way, and just how soon this frame will end. Is it going to be Iulian Boiko frame for the taking? If he manages to get this yellow safe, but it does seem to go for a little bit of a hidden hope here. And, I mean, does he get away with it? The yellow is going to run away. I mean, the cue ball is going to run away from the yellow. Yellow stays stationary because it wasn't touched there. So all RonnieOSullivan really needs right now is getting the cue ball onto the yellow and bring it up towards the top part of the table there. So the yellow is in. So all about the position on the green. Is it going to be there for Ronnie? Just about is. But he's going to require a rest shot there for him, you would think. He desperately wants to avoid that. And just having a look to see where the brown is currently. And gets the green in nicely. Is he going to be in for the brown? So that'll certainly win him the frame in the match here. Yes, he will. So all about the brown. And then the blue is going to be waiting there for him. As his match ball into the yellow pocket. And the audience is certainly getting excited because it is going to be RonnieOSullivan. Only one shot away from being in the main draw of the China Grand Prix. Once again here, was a semi-finalist here last year. Can he try and take it 2 steps further and potentially make it a win there in the China Grand Prix? And it's going to be a brilliant performance there from RonnieOSullivan. Not good enough in the end from Iulian Boiko, but in the end, it's not going to matter to Ronnie as he gives a big hand to the crowd. And the crowd certainly have been here for him. By the way, Kevin, an answer to your question is John Higgins has lost out to Liam Pullen a couple of months ago in the qualifier, so he's not going to be featuring. Luca Brissell has indeed lost to Sonny Akani in that qualifying round. But we still have some of the best players on the draw still competing, and RonnieOSullivan is going to be in the number of them. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back for the main draw very, very soon. And I'll either let you know in the post community, or I'll just put up a preview for the match, for the stream, of who the O'Sullivan's next opponent is going to be. Anyway, it's been a great match to watch, and I'll see you all later. Take care, and yeah, as I say, a lot of action still to come. Make sure to tune in if you'd like to.